After the mid-1930s, Mendel coped with declining attendance on the six-day circuit by paying riders on commission. Poor showings at the box office often forced him to pay in IOUs.
Freddie Spencer was receiving, his contracts remained the same, where he was getting at least $350 to $500 a day, and by 1938, he was receiving more IOUs than cash, and he decided it was time to hang it up. He completed 105 six-day races, and he concluded that those races were too hard to do for no compensation.
For the first time in 19 years, Mendel could stage only one Garden Six-Day. The 66th Garden Six was held in May 1939. That was shortened to 5 days, just as well because only half the seats were sold.
Harry Miller, he looked like he wanted to make a lot of money on the young riders starting up, you know, so you wouldn't get a very big contract, but we were just dying to turn pro and ride, so we rode just for almost nothing, you know.
German troops invaded Poland, and World War II was declared. A boisterous and hardy American sports era was among the many war casualties. World War II put 16 million Americans in military uniforms, including young pro cyclist Charles Bergna of Paterson, New Jersey, and Chicagoans Bill Jacoby, Charlie Iachino, and Erwin Pesic. After the war, they put away their uniforms and tried to make up for having lost 5 years of competition.
And then, of course, with the war, 3-4 years there, that there was no racing whatsoever. You had a condition where it just wasn't accepted as much as it was before.
Mendel moved on and handled publicity for heavyweight boxing champion Joe Louis and afterward for Ezzard Charles. A scale-down circuit emerged, directed by James Jimmy the Whale Proscia. His sixes, despite best intentions, were low budget. Tracks were narrower and made of thin, portable wooden slabs. Iachino once took a hard spill in Chicago and put his leg through the track. Competitors were a mix of aging stars such as Torchy Peden and France's Alfred Letournay, and returning military vets with a dose of velodrome rust.
We were so happy after we got out of service that we just wanted to ride the bike, you know. So we rode the bike for races, but there wasn't too many races coming up. And you train, and you ride, train real hard for a race, and you probably get 1 or 2 races, and then it was a letdown. Then you had and just wait around. And you had to have a job. We'll see where the foreigners, they get paid just to ride a bike. We had to, at our time, we had to have a side job working. Like Bill and I worked, he worked at Schwinn, I worked for a steel company, you know. So we worked during the daytime and train either in the morning or at night. I used to go out training early in the morning, put in about 80 miles, and ride to work and do a full day's work, then come back in the evening. And if it was like that, we can go for a short ride.
Bergner won his 5th six-day in 1949 in Cleveland when paired with Cecil Yates of Chicago. They were the last American team to win a six-day for the rest of the century.
The last Cleveland race, they said they were going to put the first cable TV from St. Louis to Cleveland of the last 15 minutes of the six-day race in Cleveland. I was waiting for that. I said, when I see that red light, I said to my partner, we're going, you know. Well, we flew. I really did fly that last time, the whole hour. But I won the last sprint.
In 1957, an attempt to revive American sixes started in Cleveland, faltered in Chicago, flopped in Louisville.
No, it was bad because we wanted to, and by we, I mean all the guys at that time. I mean Irwin and Pesic and Yaxino and the guys, all the guys that were riding for peanuts, trying to bring the game back so we could make some big money again. And it never came back, you know.
Nostalgia and local pride led to one more effort in September 1961 to revive a 6-day in Madison Square Garden.
Then the bike races were a harbinger of spring. Today they're a legend from the colorful past. But now a revival is underway of the grand sport. There's still hope for this modern age.
The Entertainment Weekly variety heralded the event. 6-day bike race back after 22 years recalls Prohibition's razzle-dazzle. Top pros from Europe, including world champions Rudi Altig of Germany and Oscar Plattner of Switzerland, and Tour de France stage winner Brian Robinson of England, joined a classy international field with a cadre of Americans, including Pesek.
I always wanted to ride in Madison Square Gardens. I rode races in New York at the armories, you know, but the idea just to ride a 6-day race in Madison Square Garden, that would like riding in Chicago Stadium, but New York was the place.
However, track construction fell behind. By the time the buxom blonde television comedian known as Dagmar fired the starting pistol, thousands of fans who had waited several hours had demanded refunds and had left. The cyclists, pros that they were, put on a show. Their jams were fast. The Garden delivered on its slogan of spills and thrills, with dozens of crashes, and some forced riders to quit.
I rode that race in New York and got in a little bit of spill and bust my nose. And at the time, they took me off. They took me to the hospital and fixed up my nose. And I told the police, just a minute, I got to go back. And he said, why? I said, well, I got a contract. I got a 6-day contract. So they waited for me. He patched up my nose, and I came back. And when I walked in there, I got a standing ovation just for coming back to start that race. But that was my last, 6-day race.
Yet it had all come too late. Those who had once danced the Charleston had become grandparents. Younger audiences looked elsewhere for entertainment. The American 6-day bicycle race had passed out of date.